Subscribe to our YouTube channel for in-depth interviews of India Inc. and press the bell icon so that you do not miss our updates.
Hello and welcome to Nirmal, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Hiral Dadia. We have with us Mr. B. Thiagarajan, MD at Blue Star, joining in. Welcome to the show, Mr. Thiagarajan, and a pleasure to have you as always. And really good to speak to you after a really long time as well.
Good morning. Thank you. It's always a pleasure to interact with you.
Thank you so much. Mr. Thiagarajan, my first question coming to you is earlier when we spoke to you, the entire conversation was related to how bad COVID could be, what are the negative. And I think no one was able to see as to what are the positives or what are the opportunities that could emerge out of this crisis. And I think corporate India has done a fabulous job by, grabbing this opportunity and making this crisis into an opportunity. How would you describe it for a company like yours?
Number one is that in hindsight, number of things would be, seen as wisdom, but it is not. I am being frank, candid in stating that it was a huge shock for us to have missed one summer season. The lockout was during that summer season. But at the same time, we were very clear that as a 77-year-old company, we had gone through many ups and downs. We would have seen such crises. Though this one was the worst of all. I have not seen in my career spanning more than 40 years a crisis of this nature. But we were certain that we will bounce back. But I think we were wrong in estimating that the revival will be only in Q4. I think the market substantially revived in Q3, and I can confidently say that the worst is behind us. Number one. Number two is I'm not part of that group. They will have their own reasons. Who mentioned that many things have changed forever? I don't think so. There are certain changes, but I don't think the world has changed once and for all. I don't belong to that group of people who proclaim that. But at the same time, it has quite a few things with regard to the markets or the business models have changed. So for us, I can tell you, number one is the fact that some segments will take a long time to recover, which is offices, small retail. This may take a longer time to recover. Second is the demand has shifted to the low end category. That is bottom of the pyramid that you need to address. The third is that we cannot be overly dependent on a highly seasonal product, and we need to balance that out. That is a learning. I don't have foolproof solutions for that, but we are working towards that. Because often this happens. Yeah, a summer can get washed out. The rest of the year is determined by that 3-4 months. That we will indeed address it in some manner. The fourth one is that our realization that we were worried too much about cash. We went for NCD. If you notice, many of the, I'm talking frankly, many economists, everybody said cash is the king and you have to preserve cash. That was the talk over that March, April, May. Um, the you know It was also a time for investing because many things were cheaper. Like for an individual, it may be a stock or a mutual fund or commodities could have bought and certain assets could have been bought. And extended credit could have been extended to the dealers. I'm not saying that we must do it, could have been in certain cases. And the vendors, you could have negotiated the payments for a quick payment and got huge discounts. That is also possible. But right now, with demand revival, you are finding the commodity prices are high, and that is much more than the cost of finance. And on the other hand, the borrowings have substantially come down.
Come
Say,
down.
for example, we will end the year March 2021 most probably with lesser borrowing than March 20.
Hmm.
And this quarter alone, we reduced the borrowings by around 213 crores. And the debt equity ratio based on the net borrowings is 0.15. So, strictly speaking, cash was cash was thought to be critically important at that point of a time, but it eased out. And as you rightly said, corporate India has done well, people have responded well, and most importantly, I think the government and the healthcare workers have done phenomenally well in terms of keeping the economy in the spirit of growth. But I will tell you that one more confession that we felt, I personally felt this lockdown is a very tough one. And I have been part of many television debates or other debates where this is hurting Indian economy and we will lose 2, 3 years of a time. But I think that lockdown is the primary reason we are doing far better compared with many countries. So I think it was the price. I'm beginning to think, I would say, when I'm seeing the other countries, that it was the price worth paying.
Absolutely. I mean, we are very much more resilient right now to what the other nations who are far more developed than us are facing. Mr. Thiagarajan, one more important point that you mentioned, that the borrowings have come down. Do you think one of the major reasons is because the cash flow cycle, and that's something which actually improved for companies like yours?
Dramatically.
Mm,
The collections have been phenomenally good. Say the recovery in the unitary product segment is in Q3 itself was at 117% of last year level.
okay.
And which means quarter on quarter. You can't make up for the full year, obviously you lost, but it has recovered dramatically, number one. The electromechanical projects and package air conditioning segment is at 77%. Honestly, we thought it should be at a 50% level because real estate is a stressed sector. Offices, hotels, and malls may not be buying. That sort of our thinking, but that also has recovered. So this is the recovery in revenue combined with good collections. See, you all know it better. There is a lot of cash out there in the
Correct.
market. So it is a time to invest.
Absolutely. And overall, if you have to see with regards to demand as well, I think in the previous quarter when I heard you, you were already at 80% of pre-COVID levels. I think by now, do you think we will end the year with exactly 100% of pre-COVID levels, or do you think it would be higher than that?
No, see, I am talking about Q3 to Q3, Q4 to Q4. My assessment is Q4 on a standalone basis will be much higher than Q4 of last year.
Okay.
Because if you know the March 19th onwards, the revenue started slowing down last year.
Correct.
So, but on a full year basis, still in revenue terms, I think we will be anywhere between 80 to 85% level in revenue terms for a full year, because that huge summer season, it was at 35% of last year, specifically the cooling product. So,
Correct.
but it is much higher than what we ourselves anticipated in September.
Absolutely. And then with this, another aspect that you mentioned right now, that this was a learning lesson as well, where you thought that we need to, diversify into newer product categories as well, so that the concentration does not remain only for summer products. So with this, what are the kind of product extensions that we would be looking at, that would be coming out from Blue Star, according to you?
Lessons learned, the first one is that whether India as a whole, the economists and analysts as a whole, we were more pessimistic at that point of time. So there is resilience. Everyone felt that we will bounce back, but it is far higher than in terms of the degree of that resilience. That is the first lesson. The second one is we began that exercise last February itself in launching the products which are affordable premium category. So it is if you have we were playing in the premium segment. I'm talking specifically about room air conditioners.
Correct.
But then we were very clear that we should move because the growth is from tier 3, 4, 5 markets. So we should move towards affordable premium category. Okay. But we are very clear now, it has to be mass premium. There is no doubt about it at all. So, there are 2, 3 reasons for this. Number one is the buyer is predominantly first-time buyer. The second one is growth is coming from tier 3, 4, 5 markets only. And the indication is that more than 40% is through consumer finance.
Okay.
And it is the aspirational middle class will drive the growth in B2C. In B2B, it is MSMEs will drive the growth. And therefore, functionally superior products must be there. You should differentiate, but in terms of pricing, it has to be a mass premium. In that context, we utilized this period, that the lockdown period onwards, only in further redesigning our products. So today, we are very confident that our products will be competing, and we will be on course to improve our market share in room air conditioners from current 13% to 15%.
Wow.
And so it will be 100 basis points in FY22 and 100 basis point in FY23. And so it is very clear that we need to play in that segment. So you can imagine for a 77-year-old company, that is a big leap forward. Culturally, we need to change. So if you recollect, that is why we went ahead with engaging Virat Kohli as the brand ambassador, because the brand has to become relevant to that mass market. And there is no other better way than taking that step. Blue Star was not into celebrities at all. And for Blue Star to get the #1 celebrity in terms of brand value, we were very clear that we want to become relevant to those segments. And our mission is 15% market share in room air conditioners. The distribution again, we shifted our headquarters from for the unitary products business. The headquarters used to be in Chennai. We shifted that to Delhi because our northern region market share was lower than the southern region. The average depth of the river is 13%. But in northern region, we were close to only 9%. There is a lot of room to be covered there. We did that exercise. And the localization program. Because we were very clear, these imports will get banned in some form or other.
Right.
So this is one set of lessons. Still, it does not protect you from the summer peaking, which will determine your rest of the year. See, always the Blue Star's Q1 result will determine the rest of the year. You can easily figure it out when room air conditioners became substantial part of it. So there is refrigeration products which we are betting in a big way. So it is the pandemic has triggered quite a few things out there. Number one is the food delivery, process to food, this sector. So that is driving commercial refrigeration business growth. The next comes the vaccination program. Therefore, there is additional augmentation of infrastructure for that purpose. Third is the agricultural infrastructure creation itself across the country. So the refrigeration products is not that seasonal for us. So it can give you a very decent growth.
Hmm.
Of course, water purifier we entered basically because it is complementing category. Once air conditioner season ends, water purifier season begins. But
Begins.
we are still a smaller player there. We will continue to grow that business as well.
Right. So, Mr. Thiagarajan, when you're saying that you're going big with regards to refrigeration, currently, what percentage of the revenues come from the refrigeration business, and how far are you intending to take it over the next 2 to 3 years?
It is not in the segment reporting. It is there, so it will become a selective disclosure. I
Hmm.
can tell you that commercial refrigeration part of our business will be somewhere around 25% of our revenue.
Right. And especially when you mentioned about the opportunity in the storage for vaccinations, I know you've already started getting orders from the government side. Have you started seeing orders coming in from the private sector as well? And if yes, what's the kind of order book you're looking at from this segment alone in the next couple of months?
So the first one is how the vaccination is going to be rolled out. India has a robust infrastructure for the vaccination through the universal immunization program. So the state governments are only further augmenting that infrastructure. So
Mhm.
the orders that are coming in the order of around rupees 5 to 6 crores every month we have been getting from either the government or the vaccine manufacturers or the pharma distributors. So
Mhm.
now, the real question is when the government is going to make it private. So you can imagine when the COVID testing was there, it was controlled by the government.
Correct.
COVID testing, COVID hospitalization was controlled by the government. Then they said private sector should, and they wanted them to reserve certain number of beds. Then the tariff was fixed by the government. Same thing, according to me, will happen in vaccines. I think the frontline workers are over 50 plus will be taken care of sometime around June, July. I expect the government to announce that private pharma players and hospitals can administer. So
Mhm.
that will be a next trigger. At that particular point of a time, this my estimate is another rupees 100 crore worth of vaccine storage facility can get created. Now, there are two more facts which I am not a healthcare expert to comment on.
Mhm.
That number one is whether this vaccine will be required every year. So
Correct.
as of now, that is not told to anybody that if you and I take a COVID vaccine,
Mhm.
we may have to get vaccinated again next year.
Correct. Correct.
And the next belief is that I wish it is not true that this is not the last pandemic that is there. It will keep coming in some form or other. If that is so, I think everyone will focus on creating a robust infrastructure and expanding it.
Mhm.
So therefore, healthcare, pharma, vaccine related. We call it healthcare, pharma, pharmaceutical. So this whole thing is one big part of our commercial refrigeration business. We will continue to invest there. We will localize and we will maintain our leadership. We hold around 70% market share there. So we are a preferred player there. We will do everything possible to enhance our salience in that respect. But I bet big on food delivery and food processing. So that is the second part of it.
Right. And with this, do we have the capacity to meet the demand? And if no yet, what's the kind of spends that we would be looking at to increase for expansion?
We are already reaching our full capacity as far as deep freezers are concerned. So therefore, in Wada, we commenced one project, a new factory there, but it is at an investment of rupees 120 crores. It got delayed due to the pandemic. We had to suspend the work for about 3 4 months, and it will get commissioned by September of 2021. So that takes care of commercial refrigeration
Hmm.
capacity expansion. Room air conditioners, it will be just sufficient till summer of next year. That is summer 2022. Therefore, CCT project will have to commence, and we will commence the construction sometime in May or June. We are also going to participate in the PLI scheme. And we have not arrived at the total investment. It will be in the order of around 200 crores at least.
Mm-hmm. So, as you mentioned about the PLI scheme, how are you expecting the AC business model to change post the PLI scheme for the industry and for yours?
So first thing is that forget the PLI for a moment. Localization is becoming important basically because there are non-tariff barriers. There is first of all, air conditioners with refrigerant filled in cannot be imported, and you have to import as a component. The second one is there is quality control order or a QCO, which means Bureau of Indian Standards will have to inspect the vendors and their sub-vendors wherever they are procuring the components. You can imagine in this situation for somebody to travel to China and get that clearance and the supply chain lead time. Then I told you an important lesson. We should become flexible in managing this seasonality issue. So if you are depending on an international supply chain, you end up planning for your components by December for the summer. So by chance the summer is late or it is raining or summer fails, you end up with a huge inventory. Therefore, it is important to localize. So without PLI scheme itself, we were very clear we need to localize, okay, as much as possible. PLI scheme is it runs concurrently with the phased manufacturing program. So as you may recall, Government of India identified air conditioners, furniture, shoes, leather as important sectors other than food processing to go ahead and announce programs so that localization can be fast-tracked. So for air conditioners and air conditioning components for next 5 years, the duty will keep going up. So we have been told already. So we are sure the input components are going to cost more. PLI scheme is helping you to localize faster. So it is based on the plant and machinery. Rupees 3,000 crore has been set aside for air conditioners, rupees 2,000 crore for components, and it will work like this. You have a x-axis, which is investment, y-axis, which is the incremental sales over FY20. So cumulative incremental sales, it will be 6%, 5%, 4%, like that, it will reduce. So faster you invest, faster you show the incremental growth, more you will get it. In other words, the government is expecting around rupees 6,000 crores of investment against 3,000 crore of PLI. And in finished goods alone, which means most of the manufacturers will end up creating additional capacity. Point number one. Number two is that it is sort of a capital subsidy. So you will go ahead and boldly invest. But you can also imagine that everyone will have to show incremental sales. So therefore, pricing will become aggressive. Market will grow because you will make the product affordable. So according to me, that today the market size of air conditioners will be somewhere around 6.5 million. And I can easily look at it becoming 10 million in India. So it will be a golden period for air conditioners industry. Of course, that golden period will come with pain as well, in the sense you have to compete effectively. You will, if everyone is creating manufacturing capacity, talent, and other pressure will arise. And most importantly, India can begin to export because it is on the incremental sales you will get it. So countries such as United States or Europe, if they want to have that China plus one strategy, India will have a robust manufacturing infrastructure. So therefore, it is the exciting period. At the same time, it will come with a lot of pressure.
Absolutely, but growth opportunities will be immense. But with this, Mr. Thiagarajan, do you see new opportunities that have come in outside India as well from the export side?
We export to Middle East. At that point of a time, the supply chain was China. Now we are looking at from India to export. See, first I have to create the capacity, and also it is, the air conditioners. It is not a product like an iron box or a mixer grinder. You need to redesign it entirely depending on the country because the regulations are different. The energy label regulations will be different for even within Middle East. Each country has got a different regulation. So we will look at Middle East and SAARC and North Africa to begin with.
Right. And with this, another aspect on the cost front, Mr. Thiagarajan, is that number one, commodity prices have gone up. Logistics prices has been a concern right now because last couple of months I've been hearing that the availability of containers has been an issue. And even if there is availability, the prices have been exorbitant. So with all of this, do you think there could be a price hike that could be in the annual? Because I think we've already taken a 4 to 5% price hike in the last couple of months.
One more round is taking place now. So it varies between 5 to 8%. And because we think that till end of Q1, the commodity prices may not come down. The worst hit is ABS plastic, and the next is steel and most of the metals. Now, I think the global demand is also higher, and the lost period during manufacturing, mining, that is being made up. And we see some signs of reduction in China from last month. So I think till Q1, this pressure will be there. So the demand is up. There is a lot of cash, and the fallout of this will be commodity prices going up.
So overall, do we see any impact on margins, or margins will remain stable, especially if you have to look at the project business due to input cost pressure? How are you looking at that front?
Margin will be stable, and we have indicated it will be 4.5 to 5.5% in terms of segment 1, electromechanical projects. Segment 2, we have indicated it will be around 7. It takes into account the commodity price increase and how much we can recover, and also the intense competition, because everyone would like to hold on or improve their market share.
Correct.
And segment 3 will, if the margin is not an issue there, it will be upwards of around 20. So margin is, with this price increase, it should be stable.
Right. So that's something which seems positive as well. Thank you so much, Mr. Thiagarajan, for this candid conversation. Great insights and seeing great opportunities for this industry and for the business from here on. Thank you so much. Stay safe and good luck for the future.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to have interacted with you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.